Morning, welcome to the first edition of the Feed Zone. So basically, what's the Feed Zone? Well, it's just a bit of discussion really between lovers of cycling. We're based here in New Plymouth in Taranaki, and what we're going to do is get some discussion going from different people from the region, talk about cycling, talk about what we love about cycling, how you can get into cycling. Okay, and I suppose we're best to discuss who we got with us today. So first we got Laura Johnston with us today. Hi, Laura.
Hello.
Hello, Laura. So yeah, you're our first guest on the Feed Zone. Well done. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from and what kind of things you've been up to.
Well, I'm from Plymouth in England, and I've ended up in New Plymouth, New Zealand.
Is that just a coincidence, or
yeah,
do you think Plymouth is it going to be like home?
Purely coincidental. It was a complete accident.
You're by the sea.
The weather today's feeling pretty British, so
yeah.
It's making me feel at home.
Yeah. If the microphones pick up any bashes and crashes, it's because it's lining all around us at the minute. So yeah. So you moved here, and when did you come? Did you say?
About 3 years ago. 2.5, 3 years ago. Yeah. So I moved just because I wanted to ride my bike more. So I initially came over. I was in Rotorua for about a year, and then came over to New Plymouth for work, and have been really involved with the local club and the local scene, and just watching it grow, and it's been really good to get involved, and now I'm on the committee and getting really stuck in and really enjoying it.
The cycling part of things, yeah. So Laura's our first guest here, and there's a lot of great history in cycling here in New Plymouth. We've got some real old history, especially in the downhilling side, mountain biking, or even on the road. We'll probably stick to mountain biking, which is my forte really. There's a lot of history, people like Mark Bradshaw and Tony Cook and people, real good downhillers nationally in the time. They could really, they were on a national, they went to the Worlds, I think, a number of times. On bikes, they practically built themselves. So the bikes weren't up to the scratch at the time. We're going to get Mark Bradshaw in here, we'll get Mark in. Mark will tell us the story. He actually was just showing me an old magazine from the 90s today, with pictures of him on this bike, which they'd got made up because the bikes that they were riding at the time weren't up to the job. They were hooning so hard, ripping these trails around. So they made their own bikes. So yeah, we'll get Mark on. So there's a lot of history. So it's great to start this blog. And blog is more of a broadcast. So we're broadcasting in the minute. It's going to go out through Access Radio Taranaki, which is 104.4 FM. Back in the day when my wife was racing for New Zealand and she was sort of dominating 24-hour marathon, world-class marathon, top 10 marathon racing in the world, and 24-hour racing. We had a really good blog, a trackside blog we called it, and I was saying earlier, I used to have iPhones then, and we were kind of pretty up on the new technology, and I was streaming live from the trackside, so we called it a trackside blog, and everybody was listening in on that blog and watching it to get live race results who weren't at the race. So we had a really good following. We had some good usage out of it. But sort of since Jen retired and we haven't been around in England on the race scene, the national series scene, I've kind of let the kind of keeping on top of social media drop a bit. And I think it's with this chance we've got here to broadcast some things, we can sort of get back onto just building that community. We've got a great community, like you say, of cycling here.
We do.
Well, we're over 700 members with the New Plymouth mountain bikers at the moment, and that's up from probably 250 in 3 years. It's 2 or 3 years. And they're family memberships as well. A lot of those. So it's not just 700 people there.
So in this first half of the year, up until the end of May, we'd already exceeded the whole of last year's membership.
It's great.
And there's still people joining.
Yeah. So we having a broadcast and getting people on and discussing things. It's great. People can listen to this and hopefully, if they've got any questions, we can answer a few questions on here and break down the barriers to actually getting into the sport. So that's our reasoning for being here. So tell us a bit about your getting into cycling. So did you mountain bike in the UK?
Only a little bit. So I'd always seen the bike as more of a means of transport, more of a practicality. It was getting to work or doing my paper round on, or a cheaper alternative to a car. And it took a while for me to want to buy a mountain bike, which was more just for fun and exploring. But my mate Ben convinced me, and I was quite jealous of seeing his pictures of him in the woods, out enjoying himself. So I bought just a basic hardtail really, and was mountain biking for like about a year before I decided to come over to New Zealand. Yeah, just loving it, and it can take you so many different places than a road bike can, and it's so much more fun than just riding to and from work every day.
Yeah, the UK has that beautiful thing known as the Right to Roam Act, which you can get across the countryside, can't you?
Yeah.
Farmers have to provide access, or
Yeah.
landowners, not just farmers, have to provide access, and that's a beautiful thing there, and you can get around a lot. So mountain biking is one way, you can just go everywhere.
Yeah.
From where I lived in Macclesfield, right on the edge of the Peak District, it was 200 kilometres, you could do 200 kilometres, just a loop.
Wow.
Off-road, couldn't you? You know, through the Peak District. So it has that beauty there. So coming here, it's a lot more trail century, isn't it? Wherever you go, it's trail century. And the UK did pretty well at that. You know, changing the colliery towns that were out. You know, the mines had closed down, so they had co-ops in the community set up like this. The bike centres in Wales. And I saw a video the other day. It was on the BKXC. YouTube channel. So he's an American guy, and he basically
travels around, seeing all these different places.
He videos with his gimbal on his GoPro all these mountain bike trails, and rips around the place, and people just follow it just because they want to watch the mountain bike trails and how he rides them. So so he was up in Wales, and Bike Park Wales has expanded hugely recently.
Yeah,
so
we're going there next
that must be a new
week,
one, Bike Park Wales, unless it's actually just like an AFAM, you know.
I think it was open before I moved over, but I think it only just opened maybe 2014, 2015, so it's relatively new. Yeah. But I know this year they've just opened another 6 or 7 trails, so we've booked our uplift for like the 3rd of July, I think, so we're all booked in, ready to go, and
it's just
super
the usual
excited.
shuttle. So that bike park way of doing things, and in a way the Seven Stains up in Scotland are the same. So New Zealand's very much like that, isn't it? So it's a lot of bike parks, which are a lot of fun to ride, and great. You know, you can take your kids around as well, and you know, you can do a little loop and back to the cafe and things like that. So
and you sort of know what you're getting with the bike park trails because they're all graded, and you know, you're not going to worry about getting lost out on the moors or anything. And
that's right. Yeah, you're not going to be 2 hours from a road in the rain, which has happened many a time in my youth. So we've got an issue. I don't think it's just Taranaki specific. I think it's nationwide. I think so, about getting women in sport. Have you got any thoughts on why women wouldn't? Specifically being a woman, why we just can't get women in sport, specifically cycling. I mean, netball probably has good representation, obviously, but what about sports outside of what you would say traditionally be women's sports? So, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm not really sure what the issue is, because I do it, and I know like a lot of girls that do it, but I also know a lot of women that kind of because if you look at how the media portrays cycling or mountain biking, it's a lot of downhill racing, and that's really steep, gnarly tracks, big obstacles, big jumps, and that can be quite intimidating for a lot of people, both men and women getting into it thinking that's what it's going to be like. Because back in 2010 I was in a shared house in Plymouth, and my housemate had this big downhill bike, and that's what he'd do. He'd go off and do all these really steep, nasty looking trails, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do mountain biking. I'm happy on the road, like that's too much for me. But then I saw a different perspective, and it was more cross country, more gentle trails, and you got to show that there's different options available. It's not all just
it's not all the downhill
Red Bull Rampage and stuff like that.
I think that same effect you've just mentioned there has the opposite effect on boys.
Yeah.
So the boys just are like, we want to jump everything. It's like when I do the coaching with the kids, with the little rockets we've got at the New Plymouth mountain bike, it's the little coaching we do with the kids. They just want to jump and go downhill. You know, they just want to jump stuff, you know, and be as aggressive as they can, and then they'll go back home and watch the YouTubes, the Red Bull and downhills and this, that and the other. Yeah. But for women, it's like if you put yourself into the mind of an intermediate age girl, so we're talking, you know, early teenage as they're going into intermediate school, into high school. Yeah. I don't know. What do you see as being the barriers?
Well, from what I remember from being that age, being really self-conscious of what everyone else thinks. And and you want to follow what your friends do, and you don't want to do anything outside of that like normal bubble for like, I don't know, fear of being picked on or bullied, or I'm not sure. I don't know what it's like at school these days with Facebook and social media and stuff. I mean, it's got to be a lot worse than when I was at school.
Probably exacerbates anything.
Yeah.
Probably exacerbates the negative aspect, and you know the positive also. But yeah. I think it's a difficult question. What we found when we were ringing people up and parents up, that it was a lot of the time the parents, generally their mums, were against taking them out mountain biking in the wet, saying it was dangerous. So I don't know if that's a barrier, and that's because they've never done it and they don't understand that there's a little bit of risk there, but generally it's not life-threatening.
No.
So I'm not sure, but I think you're right. There is, until you get a critical mass and it's cool. So for example, we've just been to Cambridge at the velodrome yesterday, and we took their little rockets up to the velodrome. And they loved it. They love it. And and that's a pretty dodgy environment, right? You're going to break your arm at the velodrome as easy as going down a slippery downhill mountain bike trail. No, it's not. It's fixed wheel. You know, the bank's 40-something degree bank, and it's unless you know what you're doing.
Steeper than most things out in
the
forest.
Yeah, and you're just clinging to the side of it, riding around, and there's 30 other people around you. Trying to get around the track at the same time. So it's a great deal of fun, but it's still just as dodgy. But you see how many girls, because they've partnered up with the girls' school that's next to the velodrome. There's a big girls' school next to that, next to the velodrome there in Cambridge, and there's heaps of girls riding that track. I would say probably as many, if not more, than the boys riding the track. So I think it definitely comes down to this to be a critical mass of girls doing something where it then becomes trendy to be part of that.
Yeah, like even the few years that I've been mountain biking, I've definitely noticed a big swell in like women out on the trails, and sometimes you go. I ride regularly, like once or twice a week, and you wouldn't see any other females. But now I'm definitely spotting more girls on the trails and talking to them, and it's just really good to see other women riding.
I think when we have the groups of women together, it works pretty well.
Yeah.
But then some of them say, well, we don't really mind being in with the boys doing training, skill sessions and things. So I'm not sure how we kind of encourage, especially that intermediate age. Like essentially, if you look at what's happened at the velodrome, they've got a great facility. So we've got a great mountain bike facility now. We just have to put a lot on and support them through it, and just keep going until we get that critical mass of that age group, and then that age group will hopefully be retained in the sport through high school, and then go on from there. So for you, actually getting into it as a sport, so you kind of progressed now from recreational mountain biking for fun and having a rip around the place, and now your vlog, if you like, is about enduro, getting into enduro racing. Let's explain firstly what enduro racing is.
So enduro racing, I see it more as a social race. I did a couple cross-country races for fun back in the UK, and I didn't really like it that much because you all start at the same time and elbows out, and you're battling for position, and you're getting overtaken on the climbs, or you're trying to overtake different people, and it was a lot of people yelling at you to get out of the way, and this was maybe the older men coming past and can be quite aggressive, which put me off, which I could put a lot of women off racing. But enduro, generally you ride up to the climbs with your mates, with a group.
You ride up the climbs to the top of them,
and you've got different time sections. So each time section is like a mini race. You might have like 4 or 6 like time stages within the overall enduro race. And
they're predominantly downhill.
Yeah, predominantly downhill, but you can expect some pedalling or a bit of climbing, but nothing too cross country.
Yeah.
And then race down there as fast as you can. Wait for your mates at the bottom and cruise back to the top again.
It's like a car rally. You cruise from A to B, or from special stage to special stage, and then you just get timed. So it is, and I like the way you described it as a social. Race. It is very social. There's a lot of, you get good crowds on, and.
Yeah, I mean the last 2W race we did in Rotorua, I went with my partner Ryan, and we met up with a couple of other people racing, and we were all kind of a similar time and similar pace riding around, and we just stuck together and made 2 new friends out of it.
Yeah.
And you all kind of suffer through the day together, and it's a lot more social than cross country. I think.
That is a big thing for cross country, and I know a lot of when we do a lot of cross country stuff and we post it on Facebook or whatever, we'll post hashtag, you know, XC ain't dead.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to make sure that XC isn't dying, because if you look at how good it's going at the minute, especially in the men's race with Anton Cooper and Sam Gaze, you know, two of in the top three in the world, you know, from New Zealand, they're really great races. So it's really that success will hopefully have a bit of an effect on people wanting to then come into the sport. You know, hopefully it'll have the effect on the girls as well, not just boys wanting to get into the sport. But XC, you know, when you're out the back of the group, right? You're coming around last, and in XC in the Olympic discipline, obviously you get lapped out. If you're a percentage behind the first person's time on each lap, you'll get lapped out of the race. They'll take you out. So it's like you could go to a big race, and if somebody's incredibly fast in your field, you won't even finish the race. You know, so it's pretty harsh.
Yeah, in cross country you're racing against each other, but in enduro you're racing against yourself and the clock. And each section is timed, and if you think you're not confident or maybe a bit slower, you can tell the person behind you to wait, because you all go one at a time.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about being overtaken so much, because you can be like, oh, excuse me, can you give me an extra minute or so? I don't really know this trail. And generally they'll wait for you, and I've definitely noticed with the races I've done in Rotorua, I haven't really been getting caught that much, even when there's been fast blokes behind me, because they tend to give that space.
Yeah, they want a clean run as well, don't they?
Yeah, because everyone wants a clean run. Yeah. So
whoever thought of that needs a pat on the back. It's done so much for cycling, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when bike companies start making bikes specifically for the race you've just created, you know, that format you've created, you know, you're onto a winner. So we're actually holding an Enduro, and is it end of August? So the New Plymouth mountain bikers are going to hold an Enduro race. So we've not done one before. We had a practice earlier in the year, which you went to and had a bit of a practice.
Yeah.
How did that go?
It went really well. I think there was a select about a dozen of us riding around in the torrential rain.
It was rain. My wife went, So we've got this race, this Enduro race in
19th of August.
19th of August. So I'm not sure how many entries you go, but I reckon they'll go pretty quick when they.
Yeah, I think we're going to release about 100 entries to start with and see how that goes. I'm not sure when it'll be released or announced. The next few weeks, hopefully, we'll release what trails we're using and the portion of entries, and I think some sprockets are going to be invited as well.
Yeah, that'd be good. There are some really good kids there, and they love that kind of racing. They're not they do the cross country, but they're not super keen on it. They just want to rip the trails hard. Even the girls, that is. That's not just the boys who watch, you know, Red Bull TV all day long. We do some skills courses where we'll go on, you know, that just talk people through the aspects of the race. So just talk us through what kind of things you had to prepare for. So I know you're doing a lot of training and things for a minute. So let's talk us through the kind of physical side. What you're kind of doing to prepare for that race physically.
I'm doing some more longer days out on the bike. So we would tend to go out around the local trails for like an hour or so, and then just do the same loop and then go home again. But we're trying to push our riding to try and get out for like 2 or 3 hours, because on some of the enduro races, that it is like a full day's ride. So you've got to be able to sustain yourself for that kind of period.
Yeah.
And then on the days when I don't have that much time, I'll go and practice certain skills. So I might just have a session where I've only got an hour, but I'll go and practice corners. Just trying to get my speed right going around those corners and things. Yeah. Or drops or whatever I want to work on that day. Yeah. And then in the gym, I'm just doing some general weight training and mobility to try and make sure that if I do crash or anything, then my body can recover and my body can take the sort of impacts and stuff from being on the bike. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, you know, about that, what you said about having the day on the bike. I remember we went out with the little rockets and we were only out for about 3.5 hours. But I basically said we're going to do a little bit of a mini enduro with the little rockets, the kids, and we were out there for like 3 and a bit hours, and I got a chance to go down each trail. We did 7 or 8 trails flat out down, so we went from A to B, like you said. Kind of like, I suppose, to get back to it again, you know, equipment choice. There's a lot of choice out there for people wanting to get into the sport. So we're talking about more into the sport, not the beginner's side of it. So what kind of, I mean, it must be baffling, the choice of kit out there. How do you make your choice on what you're going to use? I go with what fits, and especially for women, because we're all like hundreds of different shapes and sizes. Trying to buy kit that fits good and feels good is a nightmare, and also that's not pink.
It's not
Because there's still quite a lot of brands that are just pink and purple, and that's their women's range. But a lot of nowadays, a lot more companies are providing more of a spectrum of colours and designs and stuff, which is really good. So you've got more choice. But I do like to try things on where I can and get shorts and things that fit properly and that you feel comfortable in.
Yeah. Is it what's the standard? What's the rigueur, as you say, for Enduro? Then what's the kit to wear? Or what's the dress? What would you recommend?
Baggy shorts.
It's not lycra then.
No lycra. You can wear
Would
lycra.
you get heckled if you had lycra?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
You can wear lycra underneath. I think some people wear like a lycra race jersey underneath with the pocket, so you can carry all your kit on you rather than having a backpack.
Yeah.
Because with Enduro, you do need to carry a lot of stuff with you. You need food to last you like 4 or 5 hours, plus like spares in case you break down, and you need to carry all of that with you on the bike or on your person.
So if we run it down from top to bottom, so helmet-wise, there's again heaps on the market. Now they do make them specifically Enduro as helmets as a design of the helmet. So just explain what the kind of look of an Enduro helmet is.
So Bell do really good Enduro style helmets with a removable chin guard. So you can take the chin guard off for when you're climbing and you want a bit more airflow and something that's not too heavy, and then you put the chin guard on for when you're racing downhill. So if you do come off, you've got that bit more added protection than just an open face helmet.
And they're generally more coverage on. There's
they
a lot
come
of
down
coverage.
quite a lot lower at the back, and there's more coverage and space to put your goggles.
Yeah, so peaked. They're all big peaked helmets. Yeah, so that actually kind of look for your helmet wise, and it's not just. I suppose it's partly fashion. There's no reason why you can put a road helmet on. It's just that you probably not got the same coverage on a road helmet, as in it's a little higher on your head, a road helmet, and you ain't going to get any mud and sunshade. Or you get trying to cut out the sunstrike going through trees and
the
things.
rain,
Yeah. So when you get in a bit of rain, the peak really does help in them conditions. Yeah. But I must admit, a lot of the time I ride around with the peak on and think, why on earth I've got this big peak on there? But when like you say, if you're trying to avoid sunstrike when the sun's low, or like you say, if it's raining and there's a bit of mud splatter or something coming about, it does help like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So goggles are optional. You got goggles, so you're not. You can just wear glasses, but goggles is if it's a little bit, or if it's very dusty or the conditions determine, you can go full on goggles.
Yeah, you can go full Enduro and wear goggles.
Now that's definitely fashion taking over. I'm telling you there. That's not just practicality. No. I've ridden with goggles on a mountain bike. I'm not from a downhill background. I'm totally from the Lycra XC monkey kind of way of things, and so goggles to me was totally alien. In fact, the only time I've ridden with goggles on was at the fun street race we had, the 20-inch wheel retro street race, and I dressed up in full Enduro regalia. I had goggles on for a street race in the town, but it's definitely serves its purpose.
Yeah, definitely when it's dusty. Yeah.
But so you see really good visibility with goggles and stops anything getting in there. And they generally don't fog that badly, do they? Or?
No, my goggles don't fog up. Yeah. I've got 100% goggles.
So glasses. We had people at the Velodrome this week, and they had Oakleys and things. So Oakleys with a frame around them will fog up and stuff. And we got really high humidity here in New Zealand, so generally glasses with a frame around them, so a frame around the glass part. Fog pretty bad, so that's generally what I've found. So if you have something that hasn't like an M frame, kind of Oakley M frame for an example, where just the frame is on the top of the glass, they don't fog as much. So things like that. So that's the kind of top part. So again, you're talking baggy shirt, or you can wear a
loose fitting t-shirt.
I hate riding with camelbacks. Yeah. I hate. So how am I going to get around that?
You can buy. I think some of more of the pros that you can get chest, like a vest, so it's got your back protection and chest protection in it, and they got pockets in as well, so you can put all your stuff in your pockets and carry it on your person. Yeah. Or if you've got bib shorts with mesh pockets on, or your road jersey with the back pockets. Yeah. But then just a baggy one over the top. Yeah. I've seen
I think bum bag. I'd have a bum bag over a camelback.
They're coming into fashion really. Those bum bags or hip waist bags or something.
Waist bags, yeah. Bum bags. It is a lot of fashion involved in it, isn't it?
I'd quite like to try one really, because I don't like riding with a backpack.
No, I just think it's a bit. It's like I say, if it's a big enduro and you're self-supported, then you probably need a bit more kit, and it probably will be the best thing to use. But like I say, when you're out on the road or mountain bike riding for long distance, you can still get away with just what you can stuff into your back of your jersey. But then again, you know, if you're falling, is that the best place to have your kit? It's right next to your skin, you get a pump impaled into your kidneys or something, you know, which generally happens. If you're going to fall, you roll on your back and something's going to hurt you. But so kit, and then baggy shorts and shoes. Now, are you flats or clip-ins?
Flats.
Is that what goes on in enduro, or are they clipping in?
Personal preference.
Why is that?
Just prefer.
Explain yourself. I thought that was just I think aren't most of the downhillers even now on clip-ins?
Yeah, like a lot of people ride clips. I think it's just Sam Hill that rides flats.
There's only one, is there anymore? Yeah. All right, so I definitely from people who are familiar with XC would probably choose a clip-in with a bit more of a base around the pedal, so you wouldn't ride a cross-country. Like a little minimal pedal
with a bit more platform.
You'd want to be able to get your foot off dab and then get your foot back on the pedal, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And so you need quite a robust pedal there. So that shoe would probably go along that lines of.
But I ride with DMR Volts as my pedal and 510 Freeriders as my shoes, and they grip together really well.
Yeah.
Like my feet don't ever slide off the pedals or slip off or anything really.
Which is the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
And I feel like with flats you can adjust your position a bit more, so you can like adjust your feet for when you're climbing and then adjust it in a like more central position for when you're going downhill as well.
Okay. Well, like I say, personal preference is everything. In the coaching world, we basically have to determine what works for the individual in what context and why. That's what you basically have to put in front of anybody when you're coaching or you're getting into a sport or anything. What somebody tells you to do might work for them.
Yeah.
It ain't going to work for you.
Because at the end of the day, you're wearing it for 4 or 5 hours at a time, and you need to be comfortable with what you're wearing.
Yeah, and that goes for kit. Kit that we're wearing. Bike that you're using. So if you're really great on a short travel bike and you can do enduro, why not? You don't need to fork out for a big long travel bike or anything like that. So this it is just what works for the individual. I'm pretty keen to get into have a go at this enduro. Jen's keen from going from being world-class 24-hour cross-country monkey, everything.
Yeah, she said she really enjoyed the practice race.
Well, she wants to. I just got a new bike.
Yeah.
So I did. If that doesn't get used, I'm selling it and getting a new set of wheels. But she's got to use it now because we've got her a new bike.
Yeah.
So we're pretty keen. So basically kind of recapping what we're doing. So we really want to get women in sports. You're going to help us out in the future of the club. You're on the club, active in the club.
Yeah.
You're going to be active in with the coaching sessions and getting more, especially more women and generally anybody into the sport. And that's what we're all about here. It's going to be interesting to see who turns up for this enduro and see if we can really get some people who've never done any kind of event in mountain biking. I think there's a lot of
people who are quite curious about it, especially those that race cross country are like, oh, I might have a go. They just want to see what it's all about.
Yeah. Because cross country is very, very different to it. Like I say, I like the social race that you said. So I think that's going to break down people's barriers and misconceptions, if you like, about mountain bike racing.
Yeah.
We'll kind of wrap it up there. We'll basically say thanks, Laura, for coming and talking to us.
No worries.
I'm sure we'll have you back in at some point. Next up, we'll probably get Phil in, and we'll get his take on racing, on the technical aspects, and his take on how he got into enduro racing and other aspects of cycling, fitness. We'll get you back in because we've heaps to talk about your training and things that you're going through. So until next time, that's us signing off for the Feed Zone.